Lions and lionesses. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you're not making progress. You see, it can only be a couple things if you're stuck. Now, the first thing is you want to know, what is your goal? A lot of people don't have clear goals. And when I talk to them, like thousands of times I've done this in my life, I'm like, hey, 6 months from now, if everything went the way you wanted and you got the results you wanted, what would be different? What would you weigh? What else would you want to notice? And I really have to walk a lot of people through this. But just put simply, do you want to do one of three things? Do you want to sustain your current body weight? So maintenance. Do you want to build lean muscle mass? Or do you want to burn body fat? Now, notice I don't say lose weight, because weight is everything. Muscle is valuable. Muscle is metabolism. The more muscle you have, the more energy you have, the greater ability to burn fat. Everything is easier when you have muscle. Literally, perceived exertion is easier when you have more muscle. And so we want to make sure we protect muscle. So when we lose fat, we want to lose fat, but not muscle. And if we can add muscle, that'd be great. But there's two types. When you want to add muscle, it's a different program nutritionally than it is whenever you're trying to burn fat. You actually have to eat less calories when you're trying to burn fat, and you actually need to eat more calories when you want to add lean body mass. And so that's a principle. Now, the next step is, once you know what your goal is, like, hey, I'm doing fat burning right now, and you're not trying to build muscle, burn fat, and do all these other things at one time. You choose one thing, and everything's built around that. And then you take some measurements. So you want to take your body weight at the same time each day, and ideally every day on the same scale at about the same time. And you want to take the average of that weight, because your weight's going to fluctuate. Your body water fluctuates dramatically. We did a study with clients at one of our facilities, and the people would have body weight fluctuations of 8 pounds in a day. And so keep that in mind. So if you just weigh in one time, and then say you had a whole bunch of sodium the day before, and you start to retain a bunch of water, then that's not a good indicator. So we want to get a lot of data points and take the average of them. When you use an app like Macro Factor, it will take the average of those for you, and it's called your true weight. So the average of multiple measurements throughout the week. You want to get at least 3 though, and have that consistency. And then you also want to do girth measurements. Now, girth measurements are when you use a tape measure. And the tape measure, the 3 everyone needs to take are your neck, your navel, so around your waist, and around the biggest part of your hips. And you want to make sure you measure at the same spot each time. That's why we use the navel, in fact. And so those, like your abdominal, your waist measurement, it's not going to go up if you're not going to really build muscle around your waist unless you're training super crazy heavy, and it takes a long period of time. And so I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're doing the program, and this week you didn't lose any weight. You take your tape measurements though, and I would do this no more than once every week, probably every 2 weeks. You don't have to do it that often. But let's say you didn't lose weight, you take the measurements, your waist went down by ½ an inch, and your hips are the same, and your neck's the same. Well, you're losing fat, but you're also adding muscle on some level. Now, it's lean body mass, so it could be water that's being stored inside the muscles. Still good weight. Well, that's what we want. And so that way you know you're making progress. So that's why we need these base measurements over time, because we want to take the emotion out of it. Because a lot of people come to me and they're frustrated. They're like, I'm working so hard, I'm doing everything right. Well, you're not doing everything right because you're not making progress, right? So let's just be honest. But their feelings are interfering with their ability to have clear data, clear information. And that's why you have a coach, right? Everyone that does that has this in some aspect of life. But in the body, it's tricky because we have an identity and we have beliefs about our body thing. Like, if my body looks like this or I weigh this much, then I'm not worthy of life's rewards. That's a real, true thing. And so that's where we get blind. That's why we want to have some objective measures, things that we just look at and say, like, okay, these are just numbers and they're pointing in a direction. Are they going in the fat burning direction or a different direction? That's all we need to know. And your body will adapt to anything. And that's why we need to take measurements. So you could be on the most optimal diet ever. It is only optimal for a period of between 1 and 3 weeks in most cases. The body adapts. And the faster your body can adapt to something, the better your capability to survive. And so this is a good thing. But we have to know these things. We have to know that this process of metabolic adaptation is coming. We can anticipate it. And so we must adjust. And so what do? Say you're following the program, you're eating the right amount of calories, you're getting your protein, you're sleeping good, you're really pushing yourself with your training. What else can you look at? Well, you can look at your strength and endurance. So when you do your strength training days, and say you're doing a time circuit, these are mini assessments. Now, in order for it to be useful, you got to give your best. You got to push yourself. So if you're resting longer and you're goofing around, you're checking your phone, like that's not a good measure. First of all, you're not going to make great progress like this. This training is a sacred act. It's a spiritual process of strategically and intelligently challenging your mind and body to access your best self, your higher self, the lion. This is not just a thing we do so we don't hate our reflection in the mirror. This is a thing we do so we can live our best life and create life on our terms, so we can have a life of no regrets. That is the way we look at training here. We don't exercise, we train. I'm very passionate about that, you could probably tell. But let's say, your program changes every 2 weeks for most of my clients for a good reason. Because after 2 weeks, a lot of people get bored. So we want variety, and there's studies showing that if you have more variety, you actually get better results. Slightly better, but we'll take it, right? And as long as you're pushing yourself and challenge yourself, you're gonna make progress. But you gotta know if you're making progress. So instead of like obliterating yourself, what we do is we'll take like a time circuit. Let's just say an 8-minute time circuit. You say you're doing 4 exercises, you're doing 10 reps of each exercise, and you have it all set up, you hit the timer, and you with full determination and presence, you give your best. At the end of it, let's say you got through 4 rounds, 1 exercise and 2 reps. Write that down. Keep track of it. Like I write everything on a piece of paper if I'm traveling or on a whiteboard if I'm at home. And then at the end of my workout, after I cool down and everything and count my blessings and visualize the day, then I log it and I submit it. So now it's stored in the diary. So if it's week 2, I say, all right, let's go to the diary. Let's scroll back to last week's workout. I'm like, hey, on that circuit, I got through 4 rounds, this and this. My goal, my intention is to beat that this week. Either I'm gonna do more total volume, more total work, like reps, or I'm going to use greater resistance or more, or some aspect, something that's getting more challenging. I'm going to do more in the same amount of time, or I'm going to do greater resistance. I may hold dumbbells this week, or I may go up in weight in dumbbells in this week. And if I can surpass it, that means my body is recovering, and that is a good sign. If I can't, that means my body's not healing from session to session. And that means the body needs one of 5 things, or one or more of 5 things. The first one is, are you getting enough fuel to rebuild the tissue? When you work out, you damage the body. So the first thing, this is the checklist. Let's play through this. So say it's you, second week of the program, first week you gave it your best, you checked it, you say, I'm gonna beat it this week, and then what do? And you can't. You're like, oh man, what's wrong? Well, there's nothing wrong. We just gotta direct our energy and our resources to something. And it's gonna be one of 5 things. The first thing is, are you getting enough raw materials for your body to heal? So if you look at all the fuel you take in, that is what we call calories. So are you eating enough total fuel? Now calories come from protein, carbs, and fats. And so that's where that's coming from. So if you don't get enough of that, your body can't heal. It can't recover as well. So you can eat too little or you can eat too much. That's why so many people fail with nutrition, because they're not looking at these things. There's a sweet spot. And then when you find the sweet spot, your body adapts. And so you gotta take these measurements and have this awareness and challenge yourself. There's a science to this. And you can't just dabble. You can't randomly do exercise. You gotta have a system. Like you've noticed, like your program, if you ever wanna know like how I design a program, let me know. I will break down everything. Every number, every rep, every exercise has a greater reason and a purpose. And it is there to make you better. Trust me on that. And I'd love to explain it to you, but I nerd out on that. But keep this in mind. So the first thing is calories. The second thing is protein. So when you break, like if you snap your fingers, billions of cells die. You got trillions of cells in your body. Think of that number. It is a huge number. So the more someone weighs, the more cells they have. So no one can tell you exactly how many you have. There's this constant process of cells breaking down, old cells breaking down and then being reborn every second of every day, even when you're asleep. And like, for instance, your digestive tract is being rebuilt rapidly. It's about every 18 days. Your stomach even faster because you have stomach acid, right? So it doesn't burn through. How does that happen? It's constant regeneration. Just incredible, just the human body. I have such a reverence for it. It's so amazing. There's nothing ever created by a human that can match it. We're still learning about it, in fact. And so back to the plan here. The 5 factors that are recovery factors: total calories. The other one is protein. And so as those cells break down and they're being rebuilt, that's called protein synthesis. So your main ingredient in your body is water. Your second most abundant ingredient is protein. When you look in the mirror, you're looking at protein. Your skin, your eyes, your hair, your nails, your bones, your muscles. Well, your bones are mostly minerals, but the muscles, the organs, the connective tissue, all these things are made of proteins. This is incredibly important. And so you gotta get enough protein. Protein of the macronutrients is the single most important if you look at the science of this. So if you don't get enough protein, you will tend to lose muscle. But you also, when you get enough protein, you will burn more fat and protect muscle. It is a key metric. Your calories, your protein. The third thing, you may have guessed it. It is hydration. Your main ingredient, water, and also electrolytes, minerals. So that's going to be found in a lot of your foods. You don't necessarily need to take electrolytes when you're eating unprocessed foods. You're getting electrolytes all the time. Now, electrolytes, like sodium, is the most important one for most people. But there's also magnesium and chloride and potassium. So you want to make sure you're getting enough of these. And if you notice you're sweating more, like say you're starting to use a sauna or the climate change, you're in the desert, you want to add more. And a really simple thing to do is use different types of sea salts. A different color sea salt have different trace minerals. So sea salt has sodium, obviously, and then it has the coloration is coming from different trace minerals. So there's nutrients in there. Processed salt has sodium, but they've stripped away the trace minerals. And then they'll add iodine a lot of times. And it's not bad, it's just that these ones have greater nutritional content, so why not use them, right? And so, hydration. And then there is an X factor. This plays a huge role. If you look at the scientific literature, this is referred in most cases as thought-driven physiology. So this is mental and emotional distress. This is created by our beliefs, our perceptions, the meanings we attach to things. So a lot of people don't take into account, but whatever you imagine, what makes a human different from every other creature? We have a prefrontal cortex. We have a part of our brain that other animals don't. And in that brain, we have a canvas. It is our imagination. We can create things in our mind first and then play it out until it becomes real in the physical world. But you have to do it long enough. And you got to hold your attention on those things. And so everything that's ever been created was first created in the theater of the mind. The problem we all have as humans is that thing can create and it can destroy. And we are often our own worst enemy. And you've probably read this in your programs many times because I put it in there all the time. But the untrained mind is your greatest enemy. The trained mind is your greatest ally. Think about that. So an X factor, you can be doing everything else right, but if you're worried and you're stressing yourself out, you're going through tough things, it can undo a lot of things. So you can imagine something and your hormones change. So you can think about something that happened a long time ago and your body will mimic that physiology as if it's happening again right now. This is why we need to understand how we process things. We need to understand how our mind works. And we need to forgive and let go. This is really important. At some other point, I'll tell you stories of forgiveness and massive weight loss. People that have been beasts their entire life and they simply forgave someone that they perceived harmed them. Sometimes they didn't even. It was just this story. But sometimes it was some really serious stuff, and they forgave them, and their bodies transformed, and they did nothing else different. It was only that one thing. And if I wasn't the person staying there all those days, I would never have believed it, honestly. So if you're like, I'm not sure, I totally get that. So those are the recovery factors. So if you're not making progress, you want to look at your strength and performance on your workouts. If you're not getting stronger and you're giving your best, you're missing one of those 4 things. Make sense? And so let's just review real quick so you understand the system. The system is, you got to have a clear goal. Like, is it one of the 3 things? Do I want to maintain my weight? Why would you maintain your weight? Well, you like where you're at, you're good. Or you're going through you're going to be traveling, you're doing all kinds of crazy shit, and you want to have the energy, and you want to kind of automate it. You want to hold your ground, right? That's a worthy and valid goal. Like when someone's at a Tony Robbins event for a week, like it's crazy hours, your sleep is all messed up. So like you need to adjust your workout, keep it brief but challenging so you keep your muscle, but you want to get your protein in, and you don't want to overeat, right? You want to make sure of these things. So really important. So we want to make sure that you know one of your goals is to build muscle, burn fat, or sustain your current position. Then you want to take your measurements, right? Body weight as often as you can, ideally at the same time each day, if you have that option, using the same scale. And then taking girth or tape measurements. The big 3 are neck, navel, and hips. Tons of research on those things. You can take a calculator from the United States Army and throw those information in along with your weight and so forth, and it will give you your body fat percentage, an estimation. There is no one method that is super accurate, and most of them are not even close. They bounce all over around the place. But this is a really simple, super low cost thing. All you need is a tape measure and a scale, and this will give us enough information. And then you look at that strength and performance, because your strength and endurance changes before your body composition, before your muscle and your fat changes. So that's why that's so important. So this is how you can make micro progress, little by little, ongoing. And there'll be a point where your body adapts. Well, if you keep lowering your calories to the point you're just ravenous, and it's not emotional, it's physiological. It's just like, hey, I can't think, I'm not productive. Then you pull back and go back up. So you increase your calories. It's called reverse dieting. And what it does is the body now feels safe again, and then you can scale back down. But you got to increase for a period of time, not go completely off the rails and just gain a ton of weight. No, you systematically increase it, go up to your maintenance level for a period of time. And then if your goal is fat loss, then you can scale back down, keeping that protein high, reducing your calories and fat. That's how your carbs and fats. Calories from your carbs and fats. Sorry, I probably made that confusing. But the good thing is, you can ask me questions. So I just wanted to run this by you guys, because a lot of you are crushing it in the challenge. But whenever you're giving more energy, more effort to something, it has more meaning, more significance. And it can be frustrating when you feel like you're doing your best and you're not making progress. A lot of times you are making progress, you just don't know. Because before, your body has to get healthy first. And this protocol, the Ultimate Fat Burning Strategy 2.0, is actually a longevity program. It helps remove toxins because you're in a calorie deficit. It helps your blood sugar levels start to become more insulin sensitive. So your body becomes more efficient, becomes healthier, becomes more vital. So there's gonna be a little lag time for some people, but just keep at it, because it will work. It always works. You just got to do these things, and this is the system. So let me know what you think of this. Was this too detailed? Do you want to know more? What stood out to you, and how do you intend to use it, my friend? All right, and as always, remember, we were born lions, not lambs. You tap into the real you. But you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.